This is a CBS News special report. Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. We are coming on the air to share a significant development into the ongoing federal investigations against former President Donald Trump. Attorney General Merrick Garland will appoint a special counsel to oversee the Justice Department's multiple investigations involving the former president. The special counsel will oversee both the case involving classified documents found at Trump's Mar-a-Lago home and the separate probe involving the January 6th insurrection and Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. This announcement comes just 3 days after Trump launched his 2024 candidacy for the White House. The special counsel to be appointed is named Jack Smith, who began his career in the Department of Justice as an assistant DA in New York County. He is currently the chief prosecutor for the special counsel in The Hague, which investigates and prosecutes war crimes. We have a camera, as you can see, at the Justice Department awaiting the arrival of the Attorney General. Our senior investigative correspondent, Catherine Herridge, is with me at the table. Catherine, for as many seconds as we might have before the Attorney General makes his appearance, what is the significance of the appointment of a special counsel?
Well, a special counsel is brought in by the Justice Department when they feel the standard or routine handling of a criminal investigation might present or have the perception of a conflict of interest. In this particular case, I've spoken with two former attorneys for former President Trump. They believe it's an indicator that the department may have sufficient evidence to bring criminal charges.
And we will find out about that here now. The Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland.
Good afternoon. I'm here today to announce the appointment of a special counsel in connection with two ongoing criminal investigations that have received significant public attention. The first, as described in court filings in the District of Columbia, is the investigation into whether any person or entity unlawfully interfered with the transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6, 2021. The second is the ongoing investigation involving classified documents and other presidential records, as well as the possible obstruction of that investigation, referenced and described in court filings in a pending matter in the Southern District of Florida. I'm joined today by Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia Matthew Graves, and Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division Kenneth Polite. Assistant Attorney General for National Security Matthew Olson could not be here. He is currently in Germany, representing the department at the G7 Home Affairs and Security Ministerial. U.S. Attorney Graves has been ably leading the investigations into the events leading up to and on January 6. He and dozens of assistant U.S. attorneys and other prosecutors have taken on the monumental task of conducting over 900 prosecutions in defense of our democratic institutions. Criminal Division prosecutors, under the able leadership of Assistant Attorney General Polite, have played a significant role in those prosecutions. Assistant Attorney General Olson has been ably leading the team responsible for investigating the matter, involving classified documents and other presidential records, as well as the possible obstruction of that investigation. All of the career prosecutors assigned to these matters are conducting their work in the best traditions of the Department of Justice. I also want to recognize the efforts of the many FBI agents and other law enforcement personnel who are assigned to these matters. They are working courageously and steadfastly and are serving our nation honorably. I am grateful to them. We all are. The Department of Justice has long recognized that in certain extraordinary cases, it is in the public interest to appoint a special prosecutor to independently manage an investigation and prosecution. Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. It also allows prosecutors and agents to continue their work expeditiously and to make decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law. The special counsel will conduct parts of the first investigation I just mentioned. The investigation into whether any person or entity unlawfully interfered with the transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or with the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6. This does not include prosecutions that are currently pending in the District of Columbia or future investigations and prosecutions of individuals for offenses committed while they were physically present on the Capitol grounds on January 6. Those investigations and prosecutions will remain under the authority of the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. The special counsel will also conduct the investigation involving classified documents and other presidential records, as well as the possible obstruction of that investigation. Today, I signed an order appointing Jack Smith to serve as special counsel. The order authorizes him to continue the ongoing investigation into both of the matters that I have just described and to prosecute any federal crimes that may arise from those investigations. Mr. Smith is a veteran career prosecutor. He began his prosecutorial career in 1994 as an assistant district attorney with the New York County DA's office. In 1999, he became an assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York, where over the course of 9 years, he prosecuted matters ranging from gang murders of police officers to civil rights violations. From 2008 to 2010, he served with the International Criminal Court, where he supervised war crimes investigations. In 2010, Mr. Smith returned to the Justice Department to serve as chief of the Public Integrity Section, where he led a team of more than 30 prosecutors who handled public corruption and election crimes cases across the United States. In 2015, he agreed to serve as the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee, later becoming the acting United States attorney. Most recently, Mr. Smith served as a chief prosecutor for the special court in The Hague, charged with investigating and adjudicating war crimes in Kosovo. Mr. Smith will begin his work as special counsel immediately and will be returning to the United States from The Hague. Throughout his career, Jack Smith has built a reputation as an impartial and determined prosecutor who leads teams with energy and focus to follow the facts wherever they lead. As special counsel, he will exercise independent prosecutorial judgment to decide whether charges should be brought. Although the special counsel will not be subject to the day-to-day supervision of any official of the department, he must comply with the regulations, procedures, and policies of the department. I will ensure that the special counsel receives the resources to conduct this work quickly and completely. Given the work to date and Mr. Smith's prosecutorial experience, I am confident that this appointment will not slow the completion of these investigations. The men and women who are pursuing these investigations are conducting themselves in accordance with the highest standards of professionalism. I could not be prouder of them. I strongly believe that the normal processes of this department can handle all investigations with integrity. And I also believe that appointing a special counsel at this time is the right thing to do. The extraordinary circumstances presented here demand it. Mr. Smith is the right choice to complete these matters in an even-handed and urgent manner. Thank you all.
That is the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, announcing the appointment of a special counsel. He said this has happened before in U.S. history under certain extraordinary cases. Any investigation that might lead to criminal charges against a former president of the United States would undoubtedly qualify as an extraordinary case. Our senior investigative correspondent, Catherine Herridge, before the Attorney General walked out, you mentioned special counsels are appointed when there are concerns about conflict of interest. The Attorney General hit that hard. What did you hear, Catherine?
I thought it was very significant, Major, that he really made the argument with real clarity as to why he felt a special counsel was warranted under these conditions. He cited the recent announcement by former President Trump that he will seek the Republican nomination for 2024, and then also President Biden's intent to run again in 2024. And in his view, these two provide the appearance of a conflict of interest. And it seems the timing this week of the former president's announcement really was the deciding factor.
I want to go down to Jeff Pegues, our chief national affairs and justice correspondent, in the room that the Attorney General just left. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, we'd heard over the last couple of weeks that there had been deliberations about whether to appoint a special counsel. And here you have it. As Catherine pointed out, that move this past week by the former president to throw his hat into the ring accelerated things here at the Department of Justice. You heard the Attorney General also say that the current president is intent on running, even though President Biden has not officially thrown his hat in the ring. But obviously, this is a move that takes it out of the hands of the Attorney General, who has been under pressure, not only from Republicans, but also from Democrats who wanted swifter action against the former president. So we'll have to see where this goes with this seasoned prosecutor. He's someone who is not a household name, but he certainly will be after handling these cases. Major.
Jeff, you have pressed the Attorney General on more than one occasion about the idea that a former president might be indicted. This now appears to be a move, if not in that direction, one where that question and the seriousness around it will be explored even further.
Yeah, these are weighty issues. I think sometimes people forget that. But what we're talking about here is history, the potential of actually charging a former president of the United States. You just don't see that in this democracy. And so there are weighty legal issues. I've asked the Attorney General about this over and over again, and each time he answers the question the same way. No one is above the law. But in this case, he will not be making that decision. It'll be this new special counsel who starts his job right away.
In the room where that news just happened, Jeff Pegues, I want to go now to our senior White House and political correspondent, Ed O'Keefe. Ed, the first question on everyone's mind, what does the White House know?
The White House did not know about this in advance. From the most junior press staffers closest to where we work to more senior aides deeper back in the West Wing, they insist there was no heads up given. They had no warning, and that is in keeping with a policy that's been in place since the beginning of the Biden administration. They made clear that Attorney General Garland and the Justice Department would handle these things, and there would be no coordination or heads up given to White House officials. Important to point that out. And while they're preparing politically to take on former President Trump, the reason those church and state walls are in place is exactly for moments like this, so that there be no question about the potential White House interference in these ongoing investigations. Important to note that. Also notable that the Attorney General made clear part of the reason he's doing this, Jeff and Catherine have mentioned it, is because President Biden has signaled an intent to run for president. We should point out he hasn't made that decision yet formally. Expected to come at some point either later this year or early next year. But of course, a big factor because the Attorney General could be summoned to the Oval Office for some other unrelated legal or national security reason at any time, and you'd want to remove any chance of meddling by either side. Major.
And Ed, would you anticipate any pushback, even at the margins from the White House, about this declaration from the Attorney General that in all likelihood the president will seek re-election?
You mean that they would not dispute his decision to make this decision because for that very reason. They allowed him to have full discretion and full oversight of these matters, and they won't question him.
I want to go now to Scott MacFarlane, our congressional correspondent. Scott, the timing of this matters in terms of Capitol Hill. One majority in the House is about to expire. A new majority will come in. What do you think this means in terms of the view from the House majority outgoing and House majority incoming?
Yeah, Major, the timing is imperative. I've spoken to a number of congressional sources, none of whom were shocked by this news, but all of whom underscored something important. This could insulate the Attorney General from being called in front of this new Republican House majority and having to answer questions about the Mar-a-Lago probe or January 6th. This new Republican majority says they're going to investigate the Department of Justice. Now Merrick Garland may be at least partially inoculated from being called before cameras and answering their questions.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you. With my thanks to Catherine Herridge, Jeff Pegues, and Ed O'Keefe. Our coverage will continue on CBS News Streaming, your local news, and tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Good day.